the experience of trying to express on screen the impact of this wildfire and the terrible legacy of the Paradise Fire?
Well, the truth is that's kind of where you start, where you finish, and it's with you right the way through the film, is the truth of it, because these are events that really happened. That said, if you're going to make a film successfully, you have to, at a certain point, put that to one side, and then, having absorbed it with a good heart, try and make the best film you can. And that's a different part of the process, where you're really concentrating on the characters and the journeys and the world creation. So it's with you always, but you have to, at a certain point, turn to the movie and try and get a handle on that. And that was really when we went on set and started shooting it, if that makes sense. But you always know that you're going to return to that event. And of course, during the making of the film, the real Kevin and the real Mary, and they came to visit us. So, it was always present in our mind, always.
Can I ask a follow-up on that? When did you decide to make the fire a predator, and give it its own attacking POV?
I think quite early in the prep process, it just struck me that you had to personify the fire. And the truth is, it was like a monster. It devoured Paradise.
That's
and
it.
Definitely. And it moved like a monster, abruptly and unpredictably, and it bucked and reared and spat and jumped, and really that was a sort of key moment to try and create those shots, when they were quite technically difficult to do. Eerie and disturbing, to be absolutely honest. Billy Goldenberg, who cut the film, he had to go home. I mean, we were about 2 or 3 weeks off from finishing. We were actually mixing at the time. And then it happened, and Billy had to race home because his home he nearly lost his home. Jason Blum nearly lost his home. I mean, it was...
Jamie Lee,
yeah. It was. It hit the entire city of Los Angeles, didn't it? And it was one of those moments where reality rolled right across a film. And in that moment, the truth is, you feel like what you've done is a sort of puny and pale thing. But then afterwards, I felt, as I feel now, that, the world is burning. These huge uncontained fires are present all over the globe, and they are getting worse, and there's more of them, and it's part of the global terrors of our age. And so, to make a film with accessible characters that reflects that reality, I think is a good thing for cinema to be doing.
To hear him, he told me the story of his day, that day, and each time, I think I heard it from him about 3 times, and it's a long, good story, but there's certain spots where each time, a memory would come in his mind. You'd see it jar him, and it would affect him in the telling of it. And then we talk about some of those moments, the decision to go pick up the 22 kids after he just made the decision to get home and take care of his mom and son. Where'd that come from? Partially, he would say, and he said it was just doing my job, which is a pretty good example when we talk about this question's been coming up, like, what do you call an everyday hero? Different than the first responders. The first responders are waiting. They're called in too. When there's a crisis, they're ready. But someone like Kevin and Mary, teacher and a bus driver, there's no prep. There's no plan. They're just in the middle of it and have to make a choice. And it can sometimes be that simple. There's a crisis, but I'm going to continue to do my job. Stay on duty of doing the job. Now, how do you make that choice when you've got to sacrifice your bloodline and your family? I mean, that's a question that only each of us can answer if we're put in that position, if we would even, So listening to him go through the day, talk about, there were times I think where he saw that this was more of a dire situation than everyone was talking like it was or acting like it was. When he kind of knew that, okay, the plan, protocol, throw it out the window. This is each to themselves, and it's turned into anarchy, and everyone's looking out for themselves to get the hell out of here. At the same time, this is one story that happened with a whole bunch of people that helped out neighbors along the way. There were hundreds of stories like that. A neighbor picked up Kevin's mom and son. There were all kinds of stories that we never saw, and it's not the movie we told, but there were a lot of stories. The Kevin Mary story was one sort of heroic journey through this thing that we told here.
I mean, I feel like I grew up believing that heroes were the adults around me who kept me safe, who encouraged me, so I tend to look at, the people around me as really the heroes in the world. And to me, it's so obvious that Mary, I mean, you think about people who go into education, and we put our children, their education, and their entire safety in their hands. I mean, they're pretty extraordinary people who choose to do that with their lives. And Mary had been teaching for decades, and it was her duty. She felt an incredible sense of duty to show up for the children in her charge. And talking to her, she really expressed how for her that meant completely suppressing the experience she was having as a mother with 2 children out in the town that she couldn't communicate with, and a human who had all her own survival instincts going on at the same time, but also, professionally skilled at being to the kids what the kids needed from her. And so it was a really great starting point. It's such an honorable character to get to embody. But Paul really gave me so much permission to create the character for the screen, and what we were in constant communication about and really trying to find the right balance of was how much can this woman soldier on and be the soldier that she needs to be, and at what point does the human crack through and all of her vulnerability show, because it is life or death. And they all reach a moment where it's the end of the line, and the only thing to do is to accept the truth. And to me, accepting the truth, seeing the truth, having fought all you could fight, and there's nowhere else to go but to accept what is true and real, was a very, very compelling piece of the script and the story. And to see what happens to people from that place, what truth emerges when you surrender.
Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Really
so
great
much.
to be here.
Thank you.